After 3 months of getting the silent treatment from my childhood friend, I posted on social media that I had gotten married and was now a man with a legal commitment. In our friend group chat, everyone went wild with congratulations, saying that this lifelong love had finally gone from school uniforms to a wedding dress. While the hype was at its peak, I added a beautiful woman with an elegant, mature style to the group. "Don't get it twisted," I wrote. "She is my real wife." The chat, which had been a frenzy of messages, froze in an instant. It all started 3 days earlier while I was fixing up our future home. By accident, I broke the glass that my fiancé's first love, Uting, had given her. After hesitating for a moment, I took a photo of the shards and sent it to her. She simply replied, "Wait for me at home." I stared at my hand. It wouldn't stop bleeding, and the cut was deeper than I thought. If I had known, I wouldn't have tried to pick up the glass so fast. 15 minutes later, Uting arrived. When she saw the pieces on the floor, her face darkened. "Lucien, what did you do?" "I'm sorry," I said softly. "I touched it by accident and it fell." Her chest was heaving with agitation. She pointed at the remains with a cutting coldness. "Pick them up. Now." I realized she was furious. I couldn't believe she was acting like this over a gift from her ex. I held out my wounded palm. "I cut myself. Let me put on a band-aid first." "I told you to pick it up. Did you not hear me?" Her voice was pure ice. I tried to take her hand to calm her down. "It's okay. I'll buy you a new one, all right?" She brushed me off abruptly. "Lucien, you aren't a careless person. Did you do this on purpose?" Hearing that, bitterness flooded over me. "It's just a glass. Do you really have to be like this with me?" "Just a glass?" she screamed, unable to contain herself. "Do you have any idea what this glass means?" She stopped herself before continuing. "Pick them up and put them back together." At that moment, I felt my blood run cold. It turned out I was worth less than an old object from her ex. "It's because he gave it to you, isn't it?" I stared at her. "We're getting married. Are you planning on keeping his things forever?" "What I broke wasn't a glass. It was your connection to him. That's why you're so—" Slap! The sound of the blow was sharp and dry. My head spun from the impact. My mind went blank and my ears started to ring. Uting was shaking with rage, her hand numb from the hit. "Get out!" she roared. I looked at her with absolute disappointment. "Joachim, am I really the one in the wrong?" Without another word, I turned around and left. I ran out so fast that I tripped, scraping my hands and knees. I got up immediately. I just wanted to escape. In my flight, I crossed paths with a woman of imposing presence. She saw the whole scene. She noticed I had dropped my keys and tried to warn me, but by the time she turned around, I was already gone in my car, leaving nothing but the trail of my taillights. When I got to my other house, I realized I didn't have my keys. I leaned against the door. The left side of my face was still burning, but my heart hurt much more. I decided to go back to look for them where I fell. Just as I was leaving the neighborhood, a woman blocked my path. "I'm not buying anything," I said hoarsely, without even looking at her. "You dropped these." My keys were sitting in her palm. I looked up. She was beautiful, even more so than Uting. She was tall, with an elegant, intellectual, and somewhat cold aura. She stared at me for a moment, as if something on my face had surprised her. Thank you for bringing them," I stammered. "Let me pay for your ride or something." "That's not necessary," she replied with a simple gesture. It was just a coincidence. She looked away immediately, as if realizing she had been staring too long, and walked away. I spent 2 days locked away, sleeping with my phone turned off. On the third day, the doorbell rang. My best friend, Jiang Yu, was at the door. Seeing me looking so haggard, he was immediately worried. He made me something to eat, and when I finished, he asked me what had happened. I told him everything: the glass, the fight, and the slap. "Uting hit you?" Jiang Yu couldn't believe it. "We grew up together. I never thought she'd stoop to that." He stormed out of my house and went straight to the bar where Uting was. Without a word, he smashed a wine bottle near her feet. "What's wrong with you?" Uting asked, stunned. "You're still asking? Look at yourself. You're the one getting married, and you treat Xian like that," Jiang Yu yelled before leaving. When I woke up later, the smell of food filled the house. My friend Chu Wanner was there. She brought me a gift, the Luo family engagement bracelet that I had asked her to return. "Xian, you've loved her for years. Can you really cut ties this easily?" she asked. I touched my cheek. "It's not easy, but that slap woke me up. If it wasn't for that, I would have deluded myself into thinking it was just a glass." But that hit destroyed everything I felt for her. I deleted Uting from my contacts and put all her photos in a box. The next day, I went to my coffee shop. My employees asked why I had been absent. I went to break up with my girlfriend, I said jokingly to keep from crying. One of them tried to cheer me up. Boss, don't be sad. Today is Wednesday, so the beauty is bound to come. Looking at pretty people makes you live longer. It turned out there was a regular customer, extremely beautiful, who always came in on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 8 o'clock sharp. Out of curiosity, I looked toward the window and saw her. It was her, the woman who returned my keys. When she came up to pay, I stepped forward and paid for her coffee. Thanks for the keys, I said with a smile. She held my gaze. Thanks for the coffee, she replied with a half smile before leaving. That night, right before closing, Uting showed up. She had the little blue box with the bracelet I had returned. She was furious. What is the meaning of this, Lucian? It means I don't want to marry you anymore, I replied calmly. You're throwing this tantrum over something so stupid? She screamed. The argument escalated until I couldn't take it anymore. Stupid? My feelings actually meant something to me. Get out! Get out of here! I yelled, pointing at the door. At that moment, the elegant woman from before was about to walk in, but she stopped dead in her tracks when she saw the scene. Uting, her pride wounded, threw the box in the trash and left, screaming that she was the fool for worrying about me. I was left alone with the woman with the keys. I lowered my head, embarrassed that she had seen me in the middle of chaos yet again. But then, I took a breath and regained my composure. What can I get for you? I asked with a forced smile. A cappuccino, she said in her deep melodic voice. I'm out of milk for cappuccinos, but I have instant coffee if you'd like. She nodded. I served her the coffee and shared half of a cake I was going to take home. Why so late? I asked. I just got off work, she replied after a sip. I was exhausted and wanted to try my luck to see if you were still open. She paused and continued. I really like the coffee at your shop. I smiled shyly. Thanks for the compliment. Changing the subject, I added, by the way, I still haven't asked your name. Shia traced a character on the table with her finger to show me. Upon learning her last name, I told her mine as well. My last name is Liu. Miss Shia. Do you always work this late? She took a sip of the instant coffee and frowned slightly. Something unexpected came up at work today and held me back. I rubbed the back of my neck, suspecting the coffee tasted terrible to her. As soon as she finished, I took the cup to the sink to wash it. When I returned, she had already cleared away the cake boxes. Just as I was about to tell her I was closing up, Yushan spoke. How much do I owe you? It's just instant coffee, I smiled. It's on the house. She pointed to the remaining half of the cake. But there's the cake too. Seeing her start to insist, I said seriously. Consider it my treat. I'm very grateful to you for returning my keys the other day. I was at a real low point and your kindness, as a stranger, was the only good thing about that day. A stranger! Yushan thought to herself that, after today, they weren't such strangers anymore. I locked up the shop. She threw the trash into the bin, noticing the small blue velvet box Uting had tossed earlier, but she didn't say a word. How are you getting home, Miss Shia? I asked. She pressed her key fob and the lights of a car in front of us flashed. My car's right there. She nodded and waved goodbye. Drive safe. Before getting in, she stopped by the door and told me two things. Don't lose yourself over a relationship. Love isn't everything in life. Truthfully, she hadn't planned on saying anything, thinking I might not listen, but today she couldn't help but meddle in someone else's business. When I got home, I showered and collapsed onto the bed. I had 8 messages and several missed calls from Jiangyu from half an hour ago. I called him back. Xian, where are you? He asked worriedly. Did Uting go to apologize? I remembered what happened and let out a bitter sigh. Apologize? She came to pick a fight. She called hitting me a silly mistake and said I was being immature. We are done for good. Jiangyu couldn't believe Uting was capable of saying that. It turned out her so-called coldness only vanished to become impulsive when it involved her ex. And how are you doing? He asked. I didn't know how to explain it. I felt pity for all the years I spent loving her, but Miss Shia's arrival had interrupted my sad thoughts. Even though she saw me at my worst, she didn't mention the drama. I'm okay, I told him. The more she hurts me, the faster I wake up. Maybe a couple more times, and I won't feel anything at all. The next day, I arrived at the coffee shop at 8 a.m. to keep myself busy. My employees started teasing me. Boss, isn't that beauty from yesterday gorgeous? And she even let you pay. That means you already have her approval, they said through laughs. I didn't want to explain, but I remembered someone mentioning she came on Thursdays. And today was Thursday. Since you're insisting so much, I said, leaning against the counter, I'll treat her to coffee again today. We want some too, they complained. Such favoritism, I shrugged, amused. You guys make coffee all day. You can drink as much as you want. Not coffee? We want snacks, they protested. Fine, I'll buy you guys afternoon tea today, I laughed. After the keys in the chat last night, buying Miss Shia a few coffees was the least I could do. At 8:20 p.m., Shia Yushan arrived right on time. When she went to pay, the employee smiled. It's on the owner today. Yushan instinctively looked toward the table where I had sat yesterday. So, I was the owner. Even our boss recognizes that you are very beautiful, another employee added. Yushan insisted on showing her payment code. I appreciate the gesture, but I must pay. Tell him that when he's around, the girl said, refusing the money. She sighed, resigned. Was this hush money for what she saw last night? Now she owed me another coffee. She sat at my usual table for about 5 minutes, as if waiting for me. But I was busy in the back and didn't come out until 10 o'clock. Days passed, and I stayed buried in work. Uting didn't show up. It was as if she had evaporated. My heart began to steady faster than I imagined. I used to think I couldn't live without her. Now I realized that wasn't true. One night at 9 p.m., no one was left. I was closing up when I heard a familiar voice. Are you finished already? I turned around. Miss Shia. Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Liu, she replied, holding out a cake box. Since you won't take my money, I decided to buy you this. I laughed. Thank you, Miss Shia. Now we're even. I'll definitely charge you next time. But seeing it was a Black Swan brand cake, I regretted saying that. That cake cost as much as 10 coffees. Would you like to come in and sit for a moment? I invited her. I didn't want us to be even so quickly. She politely accepted. I prepared floral tea and opened the cake. It was so beautiful I didn't know where to cut it. I'll do it, she said, taking the knife with elegance. Are you coming from work? I asked. No, I didn't have classes this afternoon. I stopped with the spoon in my mouth. Did you come here exclusively to bring the cake? She pressed her lips together, hesitating, but finally nodded. I didn't feel right owing you. I'm sorry, I didn't want you to feel pressured. I apologized. Don't apologize. I ate your cake that night. It's only fair I return the favor. Miss Shia, are you a teacher? I asked, noticing her aura. Yes, a university professor. Ah, that makes sense. You felt familiar to me. My dad is a professor too. They seem serious at first, but deep down, they are very warm people. We finished the cake, and she helped me clean up. I waved goodbye to her from my car window as she drove away. Everything was going great, until I reached the entrance of my building and ran into Uting. She let out a sigh of relief. Why are you back so late? She asked in a calm tone, as if we hadn't had a single fight or conflict. For a second, I felt like we were back to the way things were, but it was impossible for me to act like nothing had happened. Are you just getting off work? Uting reached out to take my hand. She noticed me pull away, but she just thought I was throwing a tantrum and didn't think much of it. Weren't you leaving at 9 o'clock at the latest? How is it that you're getting home at 10 o'clock? A friend came by the shop and we chatted for a bit, I replied. Uting calmed down completely. She thought my anger had passed, and a smile appeared on her face. She knew Lucian loved her deeply. Even if we fought, it wouldn't last long. Besides, she believed I knew my limits and that, after a little drama, everything would go back to normal. She pointed toward my building and said, Let's not stand here, let's go inside and sit down. We're about to register our marriage anyway. I was thinking we could get the certificate in the next few days, so there's no more, yours and mine, between us. I followed her finger and looked up for a few seconds before looking back at her. Forget it, Uting. She was stunned. What do you mean, forget it? We're getting married. What is this about? I looked at her and spoke coldly. I made it clear last time. I don't want to marry you anymore. Besides, you threw the bracelet in the trash yourself. So why did you come here today? Hearing this, Uting opened her mouth slightly and frowned. You didn't pick up the bracelet? I looked at her, speechless. If you already threw it away, why would I pick it up? This is ridiculous. If you don't have anything else to say, I'm leaving. Just as I was about to walk away, she grabbed my wrist. Her gaze turned dark. Making a scene over something small isn't funny anymore, she said, locking eyes with me. I raised my left hand to slap her, but she reacted quickly, letting go and stepping back. I barely grazed her face. Uting's expression turned cold and terrifying. You want to hit me? I let out a sarcastic laugh. Well, I didn't actually hit you, did I? On the other hand, your slap from last time was very real. Do you really think we can still be together after reaching this point? Why do you always cling to the same thing? Luo Uting complained with an air of self-righteousness. Weren't you the one who broke my cup first? I was speechless. I felt total disappointment. I couldn't say another word. I felt ridiculous and sad at the same time. What kind of person had I fallen in love with? Finally, I just asked, do you really not get it? I don't want to talk to you anymore. Get lost and don't show your face to me again. If you're so nostalgic, go miss your ex. I went back inside. I lay in bed in a dead silence. It was the first time I had nothing to say to Luo Uting. I didn't even feel like arguing. Is it that she doesn't understand? Not at all. I know her well. Her words are like chips on a poker table. She avoids the important stuff and magnifies the irrelevant. Luo Uting knows exactly what she did wrong, but she simply won't admit it. She's waiting for me to bow my head first so she can throw it back in my face. But she's wrong this time. Her laying a hand on me was my breaking point. Anything she tries now will be in vain. I stood by the window, looking at the dark night that seemed to suffocate everything. Luckily, the moon was high. Even though it didn't give much light, I felt like the weight on my chest had finally lifted. The next morning, I didn't go to the coffee shop. Because of last night's insomnia, I didn't wake up until 10 o'clock, and only because the phone pulled me out of sleep. I reached for my phone dazed and answered with my eyes half shut. It was Jiang Yu. You're not awake yet? He asked. I heard you've been at the coffee shop early every day lately, staying busy. Old Jin didn't see you at the shop. I rolled over in bed. I overslept today and didn't go. Jiang Yu suspected I was in a bad mood, maybe because of Luo Uting, but since he didn't want to be blunt, he asked cautiously, do you want me to bring you lunch? I turned him down immediately. No need. Seeing my refusal, Jiang Yu insisted. Then you come out. Let's eat together. Sure opened a new restaurant. Let's go eat for free. Fine, I replied. I'll get up right now. I hung up, washed up, changed my clothes, then went to the address he gave me. When I arrived, Jiang Yu and Chu'er were waiting for me at the door. I greeted them. Jiang Yu looked at me with curiosity. Why did you wake up at 10? Didn't you sleep well? I sighed. I had insomnia last night. After we sat down in the private booth, Chu'er inspected me from head to toe. Did Uting go look for you yesterday? I nodded and rubbed my temples. Just seeing her gives me a headache now. I don't want to say a single word to her. She won't listen to reason. Chu Wanner clicked her tongue. That girl is just waiting for you to keep chasing after her. Jiang Yu frowned. Just ignore her. Ju Wanner smiled with resignation. When you went to the doctor before, did your mom find out? I shook my head. I didn't go to my mom's hospital. I don't want them finding out. And what if your parents ask about you and Luo Uting? Chu Wanner pressed. I thought about it for a moment. I'll figure out what to say when they ask. Our notes down. Uncle Lu and Aunt Shen were absolutely delighted with Luo Uting as a son-in-law. Lu Xian was going to have an uphill battle. When Chu'er heard from Jiang Yu that Luo Uting had slapped Lu Xian over a simple broken cup, she thought Luo Uting was brain dead. Over a dirty cup? Seriously? I started eating to change the subject. Let's stop talking about her. Aren't you guys busy today? If not, let's go shopping after lunch. They both said they were in no rush. Although we said it was to go shopping, I felt like they actually just didn't want to leave me alone. In the end, they filled my trunk with stuff before leaving. I happened to pass by the university district. My parents live around there. I entered the residential complex and before getting out, I called my dad. Dad, are you home? I'm downstairs. I want sweet and sour ribs and crispy pork, guobao ru, tonight. My father, Lu Tianming, replied with resignation, I'm afraid that's not happening today. I have dinner with some old friends. But don't worry, your mom and I will eat the ribs and pork for you. Or, I want some too, I said, speechless. He laughed. All right, I'll make them for you next time. It's almost dark. Cook something for yourself. After hanging up, I received a transfer from my dear father with the note for the sweet and sour ribs and crispy pork. Naturally, I accepted it as I should. Leaving the complex, I passed right by the gate of Jiang University, Jiangda. Suddenly, I saw some good-looking guys and girls coming out of the school. I couldn't help but pull over, roll down the window, and lean on it to watch. Definitely, looking at attractive people improves the mood. It was past 4 p.m. I stayed there watching for about 7 or 8 minutes as groups of students passed by. I started reminiscing about my own college days. I was deep in thought when I heard a familiar voice in my ear. "Mr. Liu." I quickly turned my head toward the woman standing by the car. It was Miss Shia. I froze and pulled my arms back inside. "Miss Shia, what a coincidence! What are you doing here?" Asha Yushan was on her way out when she saw a car that looked familiar. She checked the plate and confirmed it was me. She pointed to the university. "I work here." I looked toward the school entrance. "Oh, I see." She looked at me with some doubt. "And what are you doing here?" I suddenly felt embarrassed. I couldn't tell her I was checking out the good-looking kids at her school. I opted for a different version. My parents lived nearby. I was passing through, saw the students so full of life, and just watched for a bit. Asha Yushan looked where I was pointing. A student was just walking out looking like he hadn't slept at all. "I see," she nodded. "Yes, they are full of life." Then she changed the subject. "Were you going to your parents' house?" I shook my head. "They went out for dinner. I have to go back and cook something for myself." I paused and looked at her. "Miss Shia, would you like to have dinner with me?" Noa Shia Yushan pressed her lips together and remained silent for 2 seconds before accepting. "My car is further up. Wait for me and I'll follow you." "All right." As soon as I finished speaking, several boys and girls could be heard saying, "Goodbye, Professor." I looked at the students. They looked at me too. I felt a bit embarrassed. They had very curious and mischievous looks. Xia Yushan nodded and waved them off. When I started the car, 3 students were still smiling and waving at me. I gave them a polite smile back. Before leaving, I managed to overhear them arguing over which of us was better looking. I slowed down to wait for Xia Yushan's car to appear in my rearview mirror. As I drove, I started processing what happened. The students called her Professor. I was surprised. Did I hear that right? Miss Shia looks about my age, around 26. Is she already a university professor at that age? My dad got his tenure at 32, and I thought he was a genius. Is she that brilliant? Or is she over 30 and just doesn't look her age? I decided that when I got home, I'd search the internet for 20-year-old professors at Jiangda. News like that would surely be everywhere. I chose a Chinese restaurant I used to go to. I've always thought their sweet and sour ribs have the most authentic flavor. I parked and waited for Miss Shia. She got out of her car, looked at the name of the place, and I asked her, "Is this one okay?" She nodded, and we went in together. The waiter led us to a table by the window. He handed us the tablet to order. I recommended the ribs and the crispy pork while marking those dishes. After choosing 4 things I liked, I passed the tablet for her to choose. She quickly picked what she wanted and handed the device back. The waiter took the order and left. I realized Miss Shia wasn't complicated at all. She was a minimalist. She did what needed to be done without saying an extra word. Thinking of that, I asked, "A moment ago at the school gate, I heard them call you Professor." She looked up. "Yes. I was granted the position last year. I couldn't help but praise her. She really shattered my expectations." It was rush hour and the restaurant was filling up. When the food arrived, I told her, "Try these ribs, they're delicious." Xia Yushan picked up her chopsticks and tried a piece. She nodded. "They're good." I pointed to the other dish. "And this crispy pork too." She tried the pork and nodded again. "Very good." Satisfied with her approval, I smiled and began to eat. We didn't talk much during dinner, just occasional comments. She's one of those people who speaks little but doesn't let the atmosphere get awkward, so it wasn't embarrassing at all. When we finished, we went to the front desk. She pulled out her phone before I did, but I stopped her with a smile. "My dad is treating us to this dinner," I said. I scanned my code and the payment was successful. As we left, I noticed she seemed a bit apologetic, so I explained. "I was going to have dinner with my parents today, but they went out to party and sent me money to get rid of me. I was going to eat anyway, so consider it like you just kept me company." "Oh, and thanks for the cake yesterday." Xia Yushan smiled warmly. "Then thank you for dinner today." "You're welcome." My mood had improved. I no longer felt the heaviness from last night. I checked the clock, it was 7 p.m. Miss Shia, get home early and get some rest. All right, she nodded. Drive safe. I got into the car and waved goodbye. Xia Yushan waited for me to leave before getting into hers. She had felt someone watching us for a few minutes now. She turned her head and saw a woman standing not far away. She looked familiar. She had seen her before at the coffee shop with Mr. Liu. The woman who had caused the conflict. His ex, I believe. She simply glanced over, started the car, and left. Luo Yueting's face was grim. She had come to eat with some friends, and, as soon as she got out of the car, she saw me leaving the restaurant with an unknown woman. Even though there were no inappropriate gestures between us, she was furious. How was it possible that she didn't know this friend existed? And why were they eating together? Her friend, standing nearby, commented with disdain. How long are you going to stand there staring? He's your fiancé. If you see him eating with someone else, go ask. It's not like he's going to ignore you. Those words were like a stab to Luo Yueting's pride. Shut up! Who asked for your opinion? Yueting pulled out her phone and immediately called Chu Wanner. Tell me one thing, has Xian been seeing some woman lately? A fairly pretty one. Chu Wanner let out a mocking chuckle. Yueting, you're hallucinating. What woman? He ate with us just today. If he's not at the shop, he's sleeping at home. Where would he find the time to meet someone? I saw them! Luo Yueting interrupted. Oh, you saw him eating with a woman? Chu Wanner replied with indifference. Well, let him eat with whoever he wants. It's the most normal thing in the world. Or did you see them going into a house together? No, not that, she admitted, though her face remained clouded. Who made you mad today? You're acting like a wild animal. You. Partly. Thinking about how Luo Yueting had hit Xian over a broken cup made Chu Wanner want to curse her out, so she wasn't going to be nice. Even so, she found the thing about the woman curious, though she was sure it was purely platonic. But if it served to annoy Yueting, all the better. Frustrated, Luo Yueting hung up. Chu Er immediately texted Zhang Yu. Yueting saw Xian eating with a woman. She's going to die of jealousy. Jiang Yu replied, laughing. She deserves it. I can already imagine her sour face. When I got home, I took a bath, and as soon as I lay down, a call came in from an unknown number. My first instinct was that it was Luo Yueting. I had nothing left to say to her. When an argument reaches the point of total silence, it's because the heart has grown cold. Answering would only serve to upset me. The number kept insisting, but I neither hung up nor answered. I texted Chu Er, could you tell Luo Yueting to stop calling me? I don't want to talk to her. I didn't ask Zhang Yu because I was afraid he'd lose his temper. Chu Er replied enthusiastically, I'm dying laughing. She's definitely calling to grill you about the dinner. Let her stew in it. I got to thinking, how did she find out? I asked Chu Wanner, and she told me she didn't know, but that she had asked her around 7 p.m. right when I was leaving with Miss Shia. Surely she saw us, but since she's so proud and is waiting for me to apologize first, she didn't dare approach and confront me in person. I asked Chu Wanner to handle it so she'd stop bothering me, and I put down my phone. Before going to sleep, I felt curious about Miss Shia. I searched the internet for Jiang de Xia, and soon the name appeared, Xia Yushan. Seeing a profile picture on the university website, I knew it was her. The article read, the youngest professor in the literature department. According to her info, she must be about 28. There weren't many photos from the front. Almost all were from the side or the back, and her profile focused on her works and academic articles. Xia Yushan, I whispered. Her name, just like her, conveyed elegance and depth. She was an exceptional person. Despite having seen each other several times, we hadn't even told each other our names. We were friends by chance. I put my phone on silent and went to sleep. The next morning, I made myself an elaborate breakfast and headed to the coffee shop. Zhang Yu was already there. Morning, Zhang Yu, I said, sitting across from him. He pushed a breakfast toward me. I thought you'd be here earlier today. Even though I'd already eaten, I tried a bit of what he brought. Zhang Yu leaned forward. My parents went to dinner with yours yesterday. I heard Uncle Lu mention your wedding with Luo Yueting. He knew both sets of parents were thrilled about the relationship and that this was going to be difficult. It was Luo Yueting's fault, I said, brushing it off. I'll explain when they ask. Zhang Yu nodded, then remembered something funny. When I got here at 8 o'clock, I was going to sit at that table. He pointed to my usual corner by the window. And guess what? There was a gorgeous woman drinking coffee there, and new intellectual beauty, the kind that looks really smart. But she only stayed for exactly 5 minutes and then left. From the description, I knew exactly who it was. That's Miss Shia. Jiang Yu was surprised. You know her? I told him how we met, the accident leaving Uting's place, how she returned my keys, and how, unfortunately, she saw us fighting again at the shop. You two sure have a knack for running into each other, Jiang Yu laughed. I've never felt so pathetic, I sighed, and she always catches me at my worst. But whatever, she's just passing through. I don't think she's going around gossiping about my problems. Besides, I already treated her to coffee and dinner. After chatting for a while, Zhang Yu headed to his office. I kept working until my dad called at noon. Son, come over for dinner. I made sweet and sour ribs and your mom made crispy pork. My first instinct was to say yes, but then I remembered they'd stood me up the day before. Dad, I had that last night. You guys go ahead and eat it. He laughed. Your son has your exact same temperament, he said to my mom. Then he insisted. You sure? I bought fresh ingredients this morning. I ate too much yesterday. I lied, holding my ground. Well, son, keep working then, my dad said with a fake sigh. In that case, I'll grill some tomahawk steaks today. I'll bring one over after work. Suddenly, my pride vanished. Make sure the tomahawk is tender, please, I requested. My parents burst out laughing. Come over for dinner then! Despite my own cynicism, I couldn't help but smile. I hung up and forgot about everything else. My parents' cooking was unbeatable, even compared to the restaurant yesterday. At 4 p.m., I left the shop, bought some fruit, and headed to my parents' house near Jiangda. As I walked in, the aroma of meat and sweet and sour sauce flooded the air. I said hello in the kitchen, ooh, and my mom sent me to wash my hands. I helped set the table and we sat down. As soon as I picked up my chopsticks, my dad dropped the bombshell. We talked to Mr. Luo about you and Uting yesterday. They said you guys were already planning to register the marriage. I froze. I murmured. Have you decided on a date yet? My mom asked excitedly. Your father and I want to start organizing the wedding with the Luos. I looked at them. They were radiant. They had known Luo Uting since she was a little girl and considered her the ideal daughter-in-law. Seeing my expression, their faces changed. Did something happen with Uting? I pressed my lips together. My appetite was gone. We broke up, I said, looking down. There was total silence. You were the one who suggested it, weren't you? My mother asked, frowning. I nodded. My mother's face transformed, and my father intervened. Xian, couples, fights are normal. Don't make impulsive decisions you'll regret later. Breaking up over a silly little thing isn't worth it. I felt a lump in my throat. I'm not going to regret it. What do you mean you won't regret it? My mom snapped. I don't understand why you'd make such a drama. You've known each other your whole lives. What could she have possibly done that was so grave? You're being stubborn. Besides, haven't her parents treated you well? What more do you want? I stayed quiet, hurt. I knew they would react, but I didn't expect them to lash out at me like that without even asking what happened. Every word stung. You don't even ask me and you're already saying it's my fault, I said, my voice trembling. You say I'm stubborn, that I won't let it go. So, do I deserve for her to hit me? I remembered Luo Uting's slap. My parents were petrified. Just because I accidentally broke a cup from her ex, she screamed at me and hit me. She tells me it's no big deal, that I'm the one who won't move on. Forcing me to be with her isn't loving me. It's sending me to hell. I stood up and ran out of the house. I heard my parents calling me, but I didn't stop. My father held my mother back. He doesn't want to see us right now, let's not pressure him anymore. My mother burst into tears, feeling guilty for defending Luo Uting so much without knowing the truth. I'm going to ask the Luos how they raised their daughter, she said, pulling out her phone. My father stopped her again. Cheyenne didn't tell us because he didn't want to cause trouble for her father. Let me call Zhang Yu first. Jiang Yu answered immediately. Do you know what happened between Xian and Uting? my dad asked. Zhang Yu told him the key points. Xian loved her a lot, and he's taking it very hard. He's been trying to recover emotionally these past few days. Uncle, don't pressure him anymore. No one is suffering more than he is. My father sighed, and Tae Zhengyu understood the situation. I'll go see him, don't worry. When he hung up, my father looked at my mother. He was furious. I don't care about anything else, but my son is not going to suffer humiliations for nothing. My mother took the phone and called Luo Yueting's mom directly. This time, my father didn't stop her. Bitterness, a sense of injustice, and the lack of understanding filled my heart. I didn't understand how things had come to this. I hadn't done anything wrong, yet everyone blamed me. I gripped the steering wheel with both hands. They were shaking slightly. I heard a horn honk, but I didn't pay attention. Shortly after, someone knocked on my window twice. I turned my head and saw a familiar face. It was Xia Yushan. I opened the door and got out of the car. She noticed my eyes were red. This was the third time she had seen me looking so broken, as if the wind could blow me away at any moment. She reached out her long arms and stepped forward to give me a hug. I went stiff for a second, but I ended up burying my head in her shoulder, sobbing silently. Xia Yushan couldn't help but feel pity. She clenched her hand at her side and made a move to pat my back. But she remembered we were barely acquaintances who didn't even know each other's names, and she finally hesitated. Suddenly I blurted out, "Miss Shia, would you marry me?" Yes, I said it out of an impulse for revenge. Luo Yueting always thought I couldn't live without her. My parents wouldn't stop pressuring me about the marriage and praising her, so I would marry someone else. If the fact that I hugged her left her stunned, what I said next made her pupils dilate in shock. Xia Yushan stood motionless for a long time before reacting. She gently pulled my hands away and, seeing my tearful eyes, spoke firmly but with compassion. "You can't do this. You can't impulsively marry a stranger you've seen a couple of times and whose name you don't even know." My mind was cloudy and I couldn't process logic. I only understood that she didn't want to. I figured it was normal. Who would want to marry a stranger out of the blue? "I'm sorry for the trouble," I said, backing away to get into the car. But she held me back. She sighed to herself. "How are you going to drive in this state? I'll take you." She interpreted my silence as, "If you don't want to, I'll ask another stranger if they want to marry me." "Thank you," I murmured, and sat in the passenger seat. She looked at her own car across the street, and then got into mine to drive me. She knew the way because she had returned my keys before. During the ride, I spoke slowly. "My parents love Luo Yueting. When we broke up, they didn't ask me why. They just assumed it was my fault. We'd been together for 10 years, and just because I broke a cup her ex gave her, she acted like that." I spoke calmly. I just wanted to untie the knot in my chest because it was suffocating me. Xia Yushan listened to everything. After a moment, she said in a serene voice, "But you can't use your marriage for revenge. You should know the person better. If you marry someone you don't share values with, you could be hanging yourself from a rope while that person thinks you're just on a swing." I thought about it. She was right. When we reached my building, she looked at me with concern and hesitated. "I'll walk you up." I nodded. We went in, I changed my shoes, and I collapsed onto the sofa. "Thanks for bringing me," I said weakly. It seemed like I had fallen asleep. Now Xia Yushan watched me. Her phone vibrated. She went out to the balcony and answered. It was a friend. "Xia Yushan, we were supposed to have dinner. Where are you?" "I have something to take care of. Eat by yourself. My car is on the street. Use it and come get me tonight." "How much should I transfer you?" the other joked. "It's fine. Call me tonight." Xia Yushan hung up. She looked at me on the sofa, came in from the balcony, and went into the kitchen. She opened the fridge, took out some vegetables and a bag of ribs. She took off her black trench coat, placed it gently over me to cover me, and rolled up her shirt sleeves to start cooking. I slept for about 20 minutes. The aroma of the food woke me up. I thought it was Jiang Yu and Chu Er. I rubbed my eyes and shouted from the kitchen before walking in. Realizing it wasn't them, I scratched the back of my neck. "Miss Shia, are you cooking?" "You're awake?" she said, finishing up. "I was going to leave, but I figured you hadn't eaten after the fight with your parents, so I decided to cook something before heading out." I looked at the dishes on the table. In the center were the sweet and sour ribs. "Aren't you going to eat?" I asked her while she was putting on her coat. She looked at me, and seeing that I was already taking out 2 pairs of chopsticks and 2 bowls, she stopped. "Let's eat," I said. Nan Sha Yushan approached the table with a deep gaze. "I just took whatever was in the fridge." "Thank you," I smiled. "I was actually planning on making exactly this tonight." "I tried a rib. It was very good." "You cook very well, Miss Shia." She traced an almost imperceptible smile. Having told her my troubles, my unease had diminished. I hadn't been hungry before, but now I was devouring everything. She watched me eat. "Am I eating too fast?" I asked, blinking my still dry eyes. She shook her head. "It just seems to me that you're thinner than the first time I saw you. Eat more." "I will," I nodded. "Luo Uting doesn't deserve for me to suffer for her again." She laughed. In the end, I finished the entire plate of sweet and sour ribs. I put the dishes in the dishwasher, and when I returned, she had already cleaned the table and straightened the centerpiece vase. "Thanks for everything, Miss Shia." "You're welcome," she said, drying her hands. "If you're doing better now, I'll head out." I was going to walk her down, but she stopped me. "Rest, I can manage on my own." She paused at the entrance, turned around and said, "Mr. Liu, in the future, don't ask just any stranger if they want to marry you." "Those things," I nodded sheepishly. "Understood." She wanted to say something else, but held back. "I'm leaving." She walked out and closed the door. Once downstairs, she sent her location to her friend to be picked up. At that moment, she crossed paths with Jiang Yu and Chu Er. Chu Er stopped and looked toward the exit of the complex where Sha Yushan was waiting. "What are you looking at?" Jiang Yu asked. "That woman has incredible poise. I didn't see her face, but her profile reminded me of someone I saw at a gala once." Jiang Yu didn't think much of it, and they went up to the apartment. Opening the door, Jiang Yu said, "I didn't know if you'd be awake." "How come you're here so late?" I asked, letting them in. Chu Er handed me some bags of food. "So you don't starve to death." "Thanks, come on in." I served them water and we sat down. Jiang Yu spoke in a low voice. "I talked to your dad. He feels very guilty. I've never seen Aunt Shen so upset. She started crying when she found out Luo Yuting hit you." "It's all Yuting's fault," Chu Er added. "Do you guys know you're talking about her like that?" I joked. "Ugh, I'm not going around saying things. This is just between us." "I don't blame my parents," I said, feeling calmer. "I was just very sensitive at the time." Jiang Yu looked at the clock. "It's 7:30. Eat something." "I already ate," I replied. "I finished clearing the table 5 minutes ago." Jiang Yu was stunned. "You cooking in this state?" I didn't know how to explain it. Miss Shia brought me home from my parents' place and made me dinner. The questions poured in. Who is she? Why did she bring you home? Why did she cook for you? "She's the one who returned my keys that day," I clarified. "Jiang Yu, you saw her at the coffee shop." "Are you too close?" he asked. "Not at all. We're just chance friends. I don't even know her name or have her number." Chu Er remembered something. "That time Yuting called saying you were eating with a woman. Was it her?" I nodded. "Yes. She brought me a cake the other day. Then I saw her at her university and invited her to lunch. She once caught me looking at the pretty girls at the school gate from my car. I was terribly embarrassed." Chu Er burst into laughter. "And what did you tell her?" "Well, that I was looking at the students who were full of life, and right then one walked out looking deathly tired. She just said, 'Yes, they look very lively.'" Jiang Yu also laughed. I looked at them with a serious face. "Are you guys quite done?" Sorry, we're leaving now. Get some rest." I walked them down and said goodbye. Then I called my parents. My mom answered within 10 seconds. "Xian, did you eat?" "Forgive us, son, we shouldn't have spoken without knowing." It was the first time I heard her apologize with such urgency. "It's okay, Mom. I was worked up too. I'm fine now. I've already had dinner. It's been a long night." "I'm so glad you're okay. So glad you're okay." My mom repeated twice. A weight had been lifted off her. We chatted for a good while longer before hanging up. I set my phone aside and started thinking about my relationship with Luo Yuting. Aside from the title of boyfriend and girlfriend, Almost everything was the same as before. Gifts on birthdays and holidays, but without any kind of intimacy. You could say it was a very pure relationship. Or perhaps it wasn't even a relationship at all, just carrying the label while she continued to see me only as an older brother. Even after we became a couple, she seemed to take my attention for granted. My childhood friends witnessed her previous relationship. When she was with her ex, she didn't want to leave his side for a single second, 24 hours a day. Recalling all this about her, I felt a bit relieved. Being with Uting was basically asking for my own suffering. I was sleepy before 10 o'clock, so I turned off the light and went to sleep. On the other hand, Shia was tossing and turning in bed, unable to close her eyes. She kept replaying everything about our meeting in her mind. Although it seemed casual, it was much more than that. My voice, asking her with red eyes if she would marry me, kept echoing in her head. In that moment, she had been on the verge of saying yes, but she knew perfectly well that I was only speaking from the heat of the moment, as an impulsive attempt at revenge. The more she thought about it, the more anxious she became. An idea began to take root in her mind, occupying all her thoughts. Her life had always been very routine, and suddenly, she wanted to do something crazy. Only after making that decision was she finally able to fall asleep. Today it was pouring rain. She went out with her umbrella, walking and thinking that, with this weather, Mr. Liu might not even leave the house. If they didn't run into each other, it would mean it was just a passing encounter. And if that were the case, she would let it go. After all, they would just be strangers on the road, and the idea should dissipate. She stood downstairs at the building, not knowing how much time had passed, rehearsing words in her mind while ignoring the passers-by. However, far from calming down, her restlessness increased. She looked up and saw that the sky was still dark, as if warning her that this impulse should disappear. I didn't plan on going to the shop this morning, but since I went to sleep early, I woke up wanting to make myself an elaborate breakfast. Before putting the food in the oven, I tidied up the room a bit and took the opportunity to go down and take out the trash. Leaving the building, I stopped dead in my tracks. I swear I will never forget that scene. Miss Shia was standing in the rain with a black umbrella. Looking so solitary, she seemed to merge into the gray landscape. I ran out immediately and shouted, "Miss Shia!" She narrowed her eyes as she saw me running toward her, soaking wet. Under the summer downpour, I approached to ask her, "Miss Shia, what are you doing here?" Seeing her there caused me a lot of confusion. What was she doing at my front door so early? Could it be that because of what I asked her yesterday about getting married, she feared I would do something crazy and came to check on me? If that was the case, she really was a good person. I quickly added, "It's cold out here in the rain, let's go up." Shia said nothing and followed me to the elevator. Only when we were inside did she let out a, "I came to see you." "Thank you for coming so early, I'm fine now. You are very kind," I told her, feeling moved. Then I took out a dry towel. "Here, Miss Shia, dry yourself off." I continued, "I'm making breakfast, have you eaten yet?" "I made plenty, let's eat together." I went to the kitchen, took the side dish out of the oven, and served 2 bowls of wonton at the table. She observed the table. There were wontons, pan-fried dumplings, baked bread, and a plate of fruit. "Time to eat," I said, handing her a spoon and chopsticks. She took them and said thank you. I smiled. "Miss Shia, I'm the one who should be thanking you for coming to see me in the rain so early." She replied dryly, "Didn't you come down yourself?" I looked at her, puzzled. "So, if I hadn't come down to take out the trash, you wouldn't have come up?" She nodded with a, "Mm-hmm." I traced a smile. "I'm okay now. Yesterday was an impulse, you were right. I'm trying to change that impulsive and rebellious part of me." Hearing this, she nodded slightly and proceeded to introduce herself formally. "My name is Shia. I'm from Yan'an City. I'm 28 years old and I'm a university professor." Usually, she just said she was a teacher, but today she specified university professor. She was taking the introduction very seriously. I smiled and said, "I already know." She looked at me surprised. "You know who I am? The youngest professor in the literature department at Jiangda. I even read a report your school put out about you." I replied with admiration. "Miss Shia, I saw your past achievements. You're a genius. Skipping grades and getting in by direct recommendation is an understatement for you." She let out a little chuckle. "Oh, so that was it. I hurried to introduce myself as well. My name is Lu Xian, I'm also from Yan'an. I'm 26 years old and I own a coffee shop. I think that's about it. Xian, Lu Xian. She repeated my name silently several times. We finished breakfast and chatted for a bit. I looked her up and down and, out of curiosity, asked, "Miss Shia, do you have to be somewhere today?" She didn't reveal her purpose. She simply started clearing the table. "Shall I take all this to the kitchen?" she asked. "No, I've got it," I replied, standing up to take the dishes. She simply stuck to wiping down the table. When I stepped back out, the dining room was spotless. "Thank you," I said, and I poured her a glass of the lemonade I'd made that morning. With a hint of guilt in her voice, she said, "I'm sorry to bother you." Ever since she arrived, I hadn't stopped moving, and she felt like she was being a burden. I shook my head. "It's no bother. I'm always like this at home." She seemed to hesitate before asking, "Are you in a clear and rational headspace today?" The question was a bit sudden and strange. I figured she was just worried about me, though she seemed tense, as if she were hiding something. I nodded with a smile. "Of course. What you told me yesterday and the food you made really helped. My friends also stopped by last night and I've already talked to my parents. I'm not going to keep suffering over someone who isn't worth it." Hearing this, she seemed to relax. Her gaze settled on my sharp features. "Mr. Lu, can you marry me?" That was what I had asked her yesterday, and that sentence hadn't left Xia Yushan's mind the entire time. My hand, holding the glass, froze. I stared at her, stunned. She seemed to take my reaction as normal and her voice softened. "You don't have to answer right now. Take it as an impulse on my part too. I just hope that while you're in a clear and rational state, you'll give me an answer. You can ask me anything you want. I'll answer everything." I slowly came to my senses, though I was still looking at her in disbelief. She had been out in the rain all morning waiting for me to show up just to ask me that. It was unbelievable. "But why?" I asked. She sighed. Feeling that much emotional turmoil over someone you've only seen a couple of times was, indeed, out of the ordinary. "I thought about what you said yesterday for almost the entire night. Maybe my life is too monotonous. It really was an impulse. You asked me why I didn't go up to find you. We started as a chance encounter, and if I didn't find you, we were meant to end as a chance encounter," she explained slowly, word by word. I asked, "Do you need this marriage?" She shook her head and said clearly, "I am only taking responsibility for my own emotions, nothing more." That feeling of vengeance from yesterday had vanished, but my heart, which should have been calm, started racing again at Xia Yushan's words. I was speechless for a moment. Seeing that I didn't reject her immediately, she continued talking about herself. "Aside from the reasons for marrying you, I have a house, a car, and my savings are approximately..." When she mentioned the savings, I let out a little chuckle. "Miss Shia, you probably shouldn't go around telling people how much money you have saved up." She arched her eyebrows and nodded. "I live alone. My life is very simple. If we get married and have children in the future, I can temporarily leave my job." I listened to it all in silence, my mind a mess. I told myself I wouldn't be impulsive anymore, but on the other hand, I thought there was nothing wrong with marrying the woman in front of me. Girl, it would solve everything. Besides, I knew I wouldn't get over my previous relationship that quickly, and I feared that in a moment of weakness, I'd end up going back to Luo Uting. A voice inside me was screaming at me to accept, to leave myself no way out. I don't know where I found the courage, but I accepted. At my positive response, she was the one who was left stunned. Seeing her reaction, I cleared my throat. "Now are you going to tell me that I can't just marry a stranger I've barely met?" Now, Xia Yushan gave a faint smile. "Today it's your turn to lecture me." Since last night, she felt she no longer had the right to lecture me. I put down the glass and asked, "So are we going to register the marriage today?" Saying those words made me feel as if I were in another life. Not long ago, I was talking about the same thing with someone else, and now everything had changed drastically. "I brought my ID and family register when I left this morning," she said, nodding. "All right, wait for me. I'm going to the bedroom to pick out some clothes." I had never been this rebellious or impulsive. This time I wouldn't leave myself an escape route. Although the normal thing would have been to start dating, I was already too tired to go through all that again. Better to bet big. When I came out changed, I told her, wait one more second, I'm missing something. I went back into the bedroom. Nan-Sha Yushan stood up, swept a bit, and finished cleaning the table. Just as she was finishing, I stepped out of the room. Her gaze landed on me and lingered for a moment. My appearance, combined with the formal suit, was even more attractive. I walked up to her, stood in front of her, and looked at her. "Miss Shia, are you ready?" She met my gaze. "You look very handsome." I smiled, clutching the family register in my hand. My parents had kept that document, but they gave it to me when I was planning to marry Luo Uting, thinking I'd give them a surprise. In the end, we broke up, but it seems the document will be useful for something after all. "Let's go!" I put on my shoes and we walked out together.